linkages and the interactions between what you have, what you think, and what you do. And people tend to actually get locked into kind of a self-reinforcement around those things that are very, very hard to shift. We're also interested in what are the external influences on habit, or the external influences sometimes on change. And so for a householder around for example, home heating, it might include things like what's available on the market, what the efficiency ratings are on appliances, whether you have skilled tradespeople around who can actually put these things in your house and you trust them, what the building regulations are, for example. And they all affect your physical infrastructure of your house. Your norms might be influenced by things like your upbringing and social marketing projects, and your energy practices might be shaped by things like energy prices and home energy management systems, that is feedback devices. But there will be a lot of other things as well. So that's just a way of thinking about the conundrum of habitual energy behaviour and the difficulty of achieving change, or what you might need to do in order to achieve change, which is actually affect those things on the outside. So that we call that the energy cultures framework. But very quickly, what we have done within our project is actually do a 2,500 household survey across New Zealand, and out of that data we've identified a number of what we call energy subcultures across the New Zealand population. One of those that I briefly mentioned this morning is what we call energy economical. This is people who are largely low income, live in poor quality housing, a lot of rentals, and tend to undertake a lot of energy saving practices in order to save money. And what we find with this group is that generally the material culture, that is the way their houses are built and structured, are very poor. That's why it's red. But their energy practices, that is what they do to try and keep their energy use as low as they can, because they don't have much money, are generally very efficient. Not always, but generally. Another group is what we call energy easy. This is usually an older age group who have often quite a lot of energy efficient devices in their homes, but in fact they don't do an awful lot in the way of energy efficient practices. So they'd rather just sit back and let the house do it for them, essentially. These are generally our second wealthiest group in the population. Energy efficient, these are people who are actually doing it. They do a lot of energy saving practices, and they are the most energy efficient of the lot. These have the second lowest energy use after those energy economical who are really scrimping and saving. And then we have the energy extravagant, and this is the group I want to focus on because they're a bit of a conundrum. So it's almost 20% of the population, people with large houses, people who leave the lights on, people who have incredibly long hot showers, people who, interestingly, this is where most of our Game Boys are. This is the highest income earning group across the population. With this group, surprisingly, even though they can afford it, their material culture, the infrastructure of their houses are not actually terribly energy efficient, apart from meeting the basic building standards. And their energy practices certainly are not energy efficient either. Are they the wealthiest? Yes, and this is the wealthiest group. There's a tendency for this group to be sort of probably from the 20s to the 40s, people who generally have young to teenage families, and as I said, the wealthiest group of all. So the conundrum is this: why is it that A, we're not actually focusing on this group with campaigns, and B, why are they not actually shifting? And there's some insights here from a study we did a few years ago in Thorndon and Wadestown. We did a survey which ECA funded in 2010, and we had a really good response rate. People were going around to individual houses and doing surveys with people. And I'll just run through this because it really gives us some insights into, because this group here, it's not the same group who we defined as energy extravagant, but their characteristics are very closely aligned. So I think what is here gives us some insights into how people are thinking. So they're strongly willing to become more energy efficient, almost 90% of them said that, and there's a particular willingness to actually invest in new energy efficient devices as opposed to energy efficient practices. But there is a really low uptake of some very simple investments. Things as simple as wrapping your hot water cylinder, putting in energy efficient light bulbs, or sealing drafts. So they're just not doing those simple things. And the reasons they're using are
predominantly situational constraints, that is we can't do it because we can't get to the hot water cylinder, or very practical constraints like that they bring out, or inconvenience, we don't want to do it because grandma's coming to visit and we don't want to mess. So those sorts of reasons are dominant. Financial reasons were very, very low relatively on the priority. They don't think it's hard to find information about being energy efficient, and they are well aware of how you find out more information. So there is not an information deficit in this particular sector. And there are conversations about energy. People report talking about energy in their day-to-day lives, but they're not necessarily acting on it. What they do say is they don't know what information to trust, and what choices do we make? Where should we go? What should we do? What should we put in, etc. As I said, lack of finance is very infrequently an explanation, but economic efficiency is important to this group. So in conclusion, we've got all of these households who are well positioned to make a significant change and to significantly reduce what one might think is unnecessary, almost profligate use of energy. This is the highest energy using group, remember, but they're not doing so. So that's my challenge to this table here, is how might we develop an intervention program to actually address this particular conundrum. Thank you.